Mackie is. Maybe his machine is not playing ball today. You might need to restart. It takes ages. It's probably have 10,000, maybe. Hang on a second. So I'm just saying to the chat room that I should be on. Let's see. I'm just going to test it anyway, just in case, because you never know. Something could happen. Mickey's not picking up, oddly enough. Anyway, we'll see. It's taking a little while for my browser to get to the website, but hang on a minute. It'll get there, and I'll read out the prompt, as long as I can confirm that we're online. Let's just test it. Mackie's not picking up. There we go. So yes. So I'm Dave. I don't know where Mackie is. Sadly, I don't think I've got a message from him. I'll check in a minute. And we have two brands. One's Shiny Side Out. This is Platos Cave. So welcome to Platos Cave. We're broadcasting on WZZR for Revolution Radio from Australia, and Revolution.radio is home to fresh, unfiltered ideas. And also conversations. You'll find us in the chat room talking about all sorts of things. And I'm going to say good morning to everyone in the US who has just woken up at 7 a.m. Hopefully you have a nice coffee to drink. That's my morning breakfast beverage. I do like it. I've never poured it. Actually, no, I have poured it once onto my cereal because I wanted to get two things done at once, rather than eat cereal and drink coffee. I just did it. It wasn't so bad. Better with a chocolatey breakfast, though. Say like Cocoa Pops. I don't know what you call them. It could be Cocoa Puffs or something. It's like rice bubbles, but it's got, like cocoa on it. It's not bad. Not bad. Or Wheat Bix, if you know what Australian Wheat Bix are. It's not bad, but I like them so that they're completely soggy. I don't like them to be crunchy. So it's flattened bits of wheat packed together into and cut into not biscuits, but much thicker than a wafer. Much thicker. Anyway, it's pretty good. Thank you, Amiga Logos there. You can catch Mackie and I usually on air and online anywhere. You just need an app. And if you don't have an app, maybe you just want to sit at home in an armchair drinking a cup of coffee, and you can do that listening to a Grace tabletop digital radio that works, and it works for me. I hope it works for you too. It's also free to get into the archives, and you can also pick up your merchandise. That helps support the show, not just my show, but all the host shows. Helps the station. And you can buy not only merch, but you can donate. If you donate, this is listener funded, and the station does not receive any money from big corporate. I would like it if Mackie and I, both of our brands, were sponsored. Wish we had sponsors. That'd be nice. But I would sign nothing that said that we have to play nice with the sponsor. I would suggest that we should be able to, if we disagree with them, why would we sign? I suppose that's a good point in putting there. But if life changed, if they changed, if we changed, if the situation changed, or something happened where we didn't like them anymore, I'm sure we'd have a conversation with them rather than bag them out on air. That would be really distasteful. I actually heard the other day that the DCS battery that you put in as a second battery into your car, if you have a four-wheel drive, that there was a YouTuber who's now been sued by that company because they gave a bad review. Now, if you're gifted a battery, not just to test, but to do a review on, is it your responsibility to be honest? I wonder. There would have to be proof that you had done the wrong thing. Now, a review should be as whatever you feel. It should be your thoughts on it. That's how it should be. But, if they promise to talk it up and then found a failing, what do? Ignore the failing? You could then get sued by someone who bought it on your request, because you gave a good rap. And did you hide that? Did you know that it was also bad? Did you not? Anyone would have seen it. If they were the arguments that someone could put forward in a court case, I think the onus is on the person suing them to say, well, this is what they did wrong. Now, how did you prove that they did it wrong? Here's the letter we gave them. Oh, you mean it was just a paid advertisement? Is that? Oh, so that they weren't really doing a review. It all comes down to the definition of the word review. If that's indeed what they said I don't know what the letter is. I don't know anything more than a headline, and I just made a scenario so that you could understand what it really truly means for that poor YouTuber. Poor YouTuber. That's nothing. I bet that's not even a sentence. Meccy and I aren't YouTubers, although we put our archives. We put a copy of our shows online on YouTube because it's just a handy platform. But when you get so many of them deleted and claimed that we're providing medical misinformation, which we've never ever claimed to be medical experts in anything medical. Nothing at all. Not a single thing. And for someone to make the claim, an empty claim, I mean so empty that they can't even provide the phrase that you used in a time slot in the video. I find YouTube awfully. I want to say it properly, and I think I'll start again. I don't believe that the system that YouTube uses, that says that they make a claim against you that you've violated community standards. But what community standard is it? Specifically, medical information, medical misinformation. What's the phrase I used? And allow me then to delete it or edit it or do something or make an apology? No. No, they just go, or hit the appeal button, and a human might look at it. And then they get to you a week later and say, denied, for no apparent reason. It's just crazy that you should be able to do that. Now, I pay them money to have premium, and it doesn't give me any recourse. It doesn't give me a person to talk to. It's just, I don't even know what it is. I don't even think it's a bot. I think it's a button with a timer that just says denied after a certain amount of time, and no one does anything anyway. Who made the claim? Was it an AI? Was it a person? Was it a person? I used to have a whole bunch more shows deleted off YouTube because I posted them on my Facebook as a completed show. Here's a show we just did. There it is. Have a look. And I got a lot more viewers, but then I also got more complaints. But rather than messaging me and saying, actually, that's not really good or that's not accurate, they would just make a claim anonymously, which you can't see who made the claim. And that's the end of that. And then the show's deleted. But I've got a local copy, and I put all of the things that don't make it to YouTube, I put it on Rumble. So there you go. I don't put it on Telegram. I don't put it on whoever it is. I don't use anything else. I like YouTube. I don't like the way that they police what they claim are community guidelines. That's all I'm going to say on that topic. But anyway, there was something I did want to mention on today's show. There was a letter from, it appears to be Meta, and it's to the Honourable Jim Jordan, Chairman Committee on the Judiciary for the United States House of Representatives. Now, I don't know how this was shared. Now, I'm going to hope that it's only one page and there's no signature at the bottom, and it's got a meta. It's on letterhead, but it doesn't say who authored the letter, so it doesn't look like it's complete. I would hope this is a freedom of information release, but it's basically saying that they had not intended to. It says in 2021, the senior officials from the Biden administration, including the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain COVID-19 content. Well, that could be true. I don't know. I don't even know the letter's true, to be honest with you. But it's something here is really interesting. And it included the content, COVID-19 content, but including humor and satire, and expressed a lot of frustration with our teams when we didn't agree. It's an odd position for Meta to say this, because I remember having so much of my Facebook denied or deleted, and I've never went to Facebook jail, never did, but it was disturbing that I couldn't forward someone else's meme on, and mine was deleted, but my friend's wasn't. The originator one wasn't. It was like you were getting baited to send something on, because it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny, and it wasn't rude, and it wasn't, for the most part, all the things. I don't send anything that's rude, and I basically now I barely share anything at all, at all. And I'm disappointed with the free platform. Listen to how much of a Karen I sound like. So there's a free platform that I use, and it's now a thing that old people use. That's Facebook. So I disagree with their policing of their free platform, right? Ironically, knowing full well that myself, all of my data, my images, anything I write, every single thing that I interact with and all the likes make a psychological profile of me, that they're sold not to the highest bidder, but to the relevant agencies in every country that's visible in, if they have an interest, not specifically about me, but on a topic. Like, remember hashtags? Say you'd hashtag, life's good or whatever on a photograph. Well, just knowing that it doesn't matter what you say, at the bottom of the thing will have the WHO's advice on COVID-19, for instance. Here's a link, or here's a link to your local government, truth about this thing. Yeah, okay, that's great. But, you read out a news story that's in the public media. The public media, if the largest news organization collaboratively across the planet, and you read a story out from there, and you get blamed for medical misinformation. That's grand. Good for you. Look at you doing those things with the thing that's free. So I have no right to complain about a platform that is free, but I'm the product. I have no more complaint, and I have to recognize, just self-policing. I've got to know that I'm doing something wrong, and since I'm doing something wrong, I have to stop it. That's it. Doesn't that sound 1984-ish to you? The self-policing part that I never thought I'd do. It should sound terrible, because we've let it happen, and that really disturbs me. It should disturb you, but I should know better. I wanted to say something about the upcoming elections. I know that I think it's two months to go or something like that. Thanks, Lavender Streams, for the reminder. We know that RFK has endorsed Trump. Tulsi Gabbard also has endorsed Trump. Two people who I never thought would. And Tulsi said that Trump thinks about the people in the military. I thought that was a very nice way of putting it, and was the first government to not start a new war in a long time, because he doesn't want them. And that's really interesting. I thought that was a very interesting point that she should make. There was a whole bunch of other reasons. I listened to RFK's speech and how he presented his reasoning for it, coming from a Democratic family, almost religious or religiously Democratic, because it's meant to be the democracy party, the one that wants more democracy, and free speech should be the top of that argument. The top is what it should be. You should be upholding the Constitution. That's what the democracy is all about. But is that what is currently happening? No. And I don't think people are really getting the picture. Hopefully these actions and these speeches will get some airplay and people will start to understand what it truly means. I think banning the, what's it called again? The filibuster is probably a bad thing. Oh yeah, we'll ban it. Now, the Democrat Party, led currently by Kamala Harris, and this is the argument that I've heard a bunch of people in some Vox Pop street interviews, and the people, this is the voting, not all of them, it's probably a really small number of people, but I liked their opinion that they aired, and obviously they've cherry picked what they wanted to air, and that's fine. News media does that everywhere. Doesn't matter who they are. They just do it. So you could, if you had a late night show, you might do it for comedic purposes, for instance, but maybe not. You get a Vox Pop to see these people vote, and you go, show me on a map, and just name something for them to point out. And if they're going to be wrong, great. Put that to air, because that's funny. Where's England? I don't know. Where's America? Is this it? Is California a country? I'm making a silly argument here, and I apologize to anyone who I might have offended, because that wasn't my intention. It was for comedic purposes. So what they did is they put to air people who were learning for the first time that they're politicians. Now, I learned this a long time ago, but the politicians who are in power, who say they need to change something right now. Vote for me and I'll change it. But why don't you change it now? If you've been in for 4 years, why didn't you change it before? Were you keeping it, in your pocket, waiting for the election to come up so you could stand for something? Well, maybe you had the intention of you found out it 4 years ago, or 3 years, or 2 years, or even a year ago, did nothing and thought that's a great thing, I can stand on the next election, fighting for that. Whether you do it or not, it's a different story. If you didn't do it, that's even worse. But if you did stand for that, whatever it was, I don't care, I'm just making this up, this is the hypothetical, I'll fix the border. Why didn't you do any of the fixing while you were still in? This is the incumbent. Why didn't you fix it while you were there? I mean, isn't it your job? No, I'll fix immigration. Will you? Great. What have you been doing then? I did everything else but that. Oh, was it what you were supposed to do? Yeah, I was supposed to do that. So this is what I was watching people come to the realization that the party that's advertising or advocating to become elected, a bunch of topics that they could very well have already fixed since they were already there in power. Isn't that crazy? I just think it's so crazy now. Because America doesn't have a party political system, it's not party centric. Anyone who has the wand, right, is who's in the chair, who has the wand, the magic wand of all power. I'm not saying it's witchcraft or anything. I'm just saying whoever is sitting there, the sitting president, if the rest of the party disagreed with the president, then the president still it can go ahead with it, right? So here, if that was the case, the whole party would get rid of the person who was in charge and just replace them. Oh yeah, that's kind of what's happened in the US. So how headstrong, with fingers in ears going la 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 la, was the current sitting president of the USA. Was it just, oh, we're not going to win the next election with you still running, so we'll just, who else can we put in? No one? Oh really, does it have to be Kamala? I'm making a joke, right? So it annoys me that people are starting to wake up to it and that they weren't already aware of it. I suppose, you get caught up in your own life. That's okay. There's so many distractions being thrown at us anyway, so does it matter? That I didn't, if you're being you, did it matter that I didn't see it until now? Well, not really. As long as you vote with your feet, vote with your conscience. Are you doing the right thing? Or is it just because you like the person? It's like a horse race. Have you done your research on the horse and that you think they'll win? Or do you just like the colour of the hat on the jockey? Does it make sense? I hope that makes sense. Because that would be very disappointing if you were only voting for the president because they were a man or a woman or they were not Trump. Have there been any real policies being stated by any of the politicians? Australia has a website which is policy driven when it's coming to voting time. All of the policies are put into a website and you're asked a series of policy questions. So if there was, I don't know, say 5, let's just pretend there's only 5 parties that are wishing to, and that includes independents. If there's only 5 policies that differ from each other, but you might have 20 questions, and one of the questions has a range of the 5 policies that differ amongst all of the people running, and you're going to feel one way about it. If there's 5 different answers, you'll align with one of those, so you choose that one, right? You don't see whose party it is. These are just policies on their own for the fact that politics shouldn't be a person game. It should be a policy game. I would imagine that the voting populace of every country would be smart enough to be able to vote for a policy and not a person. And that's what it really should be. If it's if it's only a popular, a popular vote, not the American popular vote, but if you're only doing it because the person is popular for some reason and you don't really care why, but everyone's doing, like all your friends are voting one way, and so you just vote that way, but you don't really have any interest in any of it. Well, good for you, because that's also your right. But would you do it again? Imagine if the person you didn't like got in. Would you do the same thing next time? Or do you think you might have learnt to maybe not do that and choose another way, another selection method for the person you'd be voting for? I think, look, these are powerful questions that you need to answer on your own, yourself, because that will lead you into doing the thing that you won't hate yourself in 20 years for doing. Oh, this was the year, I remember this election, someone brings it up. Oh yeah, that's right, that's when I changed the way I voted. And they go, oh really, did you used to vote for a different party? No, just on policy. Because I really, at this point in my life, I really needed these things. So that's, out of the two people, this is the one that was going to be favourable and, I agreed with. That's how you should vote. And I don't see a lot of people doing it. Because, like I said, there is a not Trump vote. Like anyone but Trump. It doesn't matter who it is. So people will hate Trump so bad that it doesn't matter who the other person is. That's a thing. I don't care how many percent there are of people in the US who are thinking this way, but that's something that's definitely a piece of the pie, if it's a pie chart. There's another piece of the pie, of course, and that is if you I don't know, if you vote because the person matches your impression of what a president should be. Is that what we're, you can do that. I'm not saying it's bad, but you can do that. That's not a problem. You can vote because they maybe they match the same births, chromosome. XX or XY. Maybe they matched yours and you like that. That's good. Maybe they match their the way they were brought up, or the housing that they lived in, or the color of their skin or hair. Maybe they match the way you speak. Maybe you admire traits about the person, and it's a still person that you've got to understand. I'm still not talking about any policies. This is the other side. If you just ignore the policies, who cares? Right? Who cares? Some people might say. But, if they're male or female, they could be transgender. Who knows? I'm not saying anyone in currently running is. They could be anything. If you feel it necessary to vote a certain way, look, that's your right, and I'm not going to stop you. I can't stop you. I live in Australia, for crying out loud. I don't even vote in American elections. I hope you guys do really well. We've got our own problems over here. We really do. And I don't want to share those so much. I found out, actually, I'll tell you something. I found out today that Sydney is the most tolled, T-O-L-L, tolled city in the world. We have the most toll roads, and I think it's either Sydney or Melbourne. There's one of the two earned the most in the world. Because, I don't know, when some company decided what they were going to do, I think the first toll road was a road in Sydney called Parramatta Road, and it was during the horse and cart era. They were charging people to go. It was very straight, and it led people from the city to Parramatta. no surprises there. It's called Parramatta Road. And it wasn't even to improve it. It was just to use it. This straight road. Fantastic. All the others were all over the place. But then the Harbour Bridge was built, and that was the second toll road that we had. And that was to recover the cost of building the bridge. But it's still there today, and they've paid the bridge off and the maintenance on the bridge. But that, well, you know, it's still there. It's now charged, I think, you pay, at the moment, I think you pay once as if you'd taken 2 trips over it. But I think the plan is to charge you an amount for traversing it either one way or the other, and/or. So if you go to work and you have to cross the bridge, then you come back, you get charged for both directions. So they'll, instead of charging you for both directions, only heading in one direction. Because the other way, if you didn't, there's a way to cross the harbour on another bridge that has no toll. So if you were really clever, you could go to work on the one going into the city by car, on the one that doesn't have the toll, and on the way home you could go back over the other way and pay nothing at all, but still use the Harbour Bridge. I think they're trying to make it so you're paying for travelling in a single direction, but both of the directions. At the moment, it's only from north to south, and you'll pay as though you went twice over the bridge, so you pay double. That's pretty rotten. And look, I don't wish it upon any country to start toll roads. I really detest them. I don't understand how a government could be so poor as to not build roads that are free to use. They've outsourced that to a private firm. I know who it is, I'm not going to say who they are, so that they can profit from it. Isn't that nuts? I just think that's insane. In England, there was the first underground rail was originally designed to be above ground in a glass building, however big it was, right? Huge, 20 miles or something, but it was going to be one building. The whole railway was going to be under like a canopy of glass, beautiful, ornamental, arched glass, and shops on either side the whole way. And so that never happened, and they went underground. But what was really weird was 2 different companies owned like the northbound and the southbound direction, for instance. It was a circle, but it doesn't matter. So let's say the inner circle and the outer circle. So 2 different companies owned that. And if you were to buy a ticket to go, say, clockwise around the circle, because you want to only go to the next station in the clockwise direction, but you went to the wrong booth and you bought a ticket mistakenly for the outside ring, that they could charge you more and send you all the way around the circle the long way to get to your station. And it was just repulsive that someone should do that. I learned about this. I think I was today old when I learned about this one, or yesterday old. And we are, let's say you go to work, you come home, you have your work, shops and home triangle. You go to the shops to buy your groceries or your food or anything else, and you come home, and that triangle is all you care about. That's a completely fair statement. It's a fair place to be. That's okay, as long as nothing affects that triangle. If you have problems getting to work, the traffic's bad, that's your triangle that's affected. If someone else's traffic is bad, you don't care. Who cares? What does it matter? Nothing. If anyone else's shops that they go to, that you don't go to because you don't live there, something happens to them, You don't care. If it happens to your shops, so wherever you go to buy anything, your department store or your grocery store, you call it a market, so whatever, then you worry about it. If someone else's home, something happens to it, you don't worry. If something happens to your home, you worry. So that work home shops of stability is what you crave. You don't want that to change. And it's a very, very clear and fair way to think. I don't want that to change. That shouldn't change. When fuel prices go up like stupid up, that's one thing. When the shops prices go up, so you go to the market and everything costs, you get 40% less because you're paying the same amount, buying the same things. Or if you only have a certain, say you had a dedicated amount of money every week to be able to spend on food, you're going to be buying less now. Or if you buy the same amount of food, your prices go up. It doesn't matter what. That affects you, and that's also bad. I heard something about one of the policies was against gouging. All right, well, gouging is only one thing. It's like if there was a hurricane that's going to hit the town, not a bad one, but it's going to isolate you and your family and your house. You won't be able to get to the shops, so you go to the shops to try and buy the things you need. You can sit through being cut off, maybe because of flooding or something, right? So you go to the store and you find out that the water is, instead of $3 a gallon, it's $20 a gallon. Now, can the shop get more water? If they can, gouging. If they've had to drive a truck, hire a truck, and go interstate to get the water, and then bring it back, whatever that costs them as their net cost, or let's call it landed cost. They've got the water, the fuel, the hourly rate of the person, the hiring of the truck, the buying of the water, and they come back. All of that adds up to the cost that you should be able to sell that water for. Let's be clear, that's what business is. You don't sell things at a loss. But if you bought a bunch of, like, say you bought a whole container load of umbrellas from whatever country, it doesn't matter, and you've got them in storage, and as soon as it rains, you've got them there, for $1 each, but when it rains, you sell them for $30 each. What are you really doing? You should just wake up in the morning and slap your own face looking in the mirror. Right? That's really bad. Look, I am not a communist. I've never been a communist. I've never been a member of the Communist Party. But there's good business and there's bad business. There's as best I can put it. In Australia, when fuel prices went up, like everywhere else, but in America you have your own supply that you can keep the price relatively low comparatively. The rest of the world suffered hugely. And when the goods that you have to buy from the market cost more to transport because the fuel, and especially in Australia because we live so far away from each other, we've got the same landmass as continental US, but we've got 20x million. It's not 30 million, it could be 25 or 23 million or whatever. America's, we've got 10% of your population living in the same place. So to move goods around costs a lot of diesel, and diesel prices went up through the moon, right, up to the moon, and it just became crazy expensive. And the cost of transporting those goods meant it saw the price of the goods go up in a store because of the landed cost. Torture this now, right? So that was the main cause, not supply and demand, but that was the main cause of it, because the landed costs went up because of fuel. The transportation costs went up. And sadly, what that means for the people in Australia was that all the government sees is the cost of things going up, saying that's inflation. How do we deal with inflation? When we put the interest rates up, we tell the private firm that is the Reserve Bank, we just say, hey, look at those numbers, that's not bad, what are you going to do about it, says the government. They can't tell them what to do. There's an air gap. Right? And they go, oh, we should put up interest rates. And putting up interest rates actually takes more money away from the pocket of the person who has to live in the country. So not only are we now spending more on food and eating less, but then the mortgages go up, because in this country you can only fix your mortgage for a couple of years, and we don't have lifetime fixed loans. You just don't. Not like in the US. And everyone gambles on having a variable loan rate because it's usually less than the cost of the fixed rate. So you're actually paying less overall. But the fixed rate is good if you have the wage. You know it's just a dedicated amount. You just pay that all the time. That's what you pay. Makes it go away, and then every 5 years or less you get to renegotiate with the bank and just accept whatever they're going to do. So at the point in your economy, if you're the government and the people can't afford the food anymore because the fuel has gone up so much, it's not part of your equation to do that. With the fuel cost taken out as a cause, oh, it must be supply and demand, see? So more people demanding it, and that means you get scarcity, and so that's why the costs go up. It's not at all. We didn't see any of that. We just saw fuel prices go up, transportation go up, and everything costs more money because everything's transported. That's it. So by putting the interest rates up, we saw less and less money, and now we're teetering on the edge of, you could call it a recession. I'm not saying it is. I'm not an expert. I'm not a financial or medical expert. But when you have a look at to see, the only mechanism that they have is an interest rates lever. That's not suitable in every case. If it was a car and the only thing you've got is a handbrake, how much brake am I putting on and how much acceleration am I pushing, right? That's it. So they've only got one lever, like in a Tesla. You've got an accelerator. And when you take your foot off the accelerator, the car brakes. That's it. You can't coast down a hill with your foot off the accelerator. It's just going to slow down. Like in a petrol car, it'll roll and maybe even roll faster because momentum and the hill and potential energy turns into your car going faster. So they've got no way otherwise of being able to control the economy. It used to work when it's not petrol cost that makes the prices go up. It just caused people to buy less, and then instead of the prices continuing to go up, they just kind of stabilized. That's fair. I get that. But fuel prices going where they went, causing it all, because they only have one thing, they're not really fixing it. In fact, they make it worse. And I still argue, why on earth is it that when the economy is at its worst, the people have done nothing to make it happen? But we're the ones who are punished, and the banks aren't punished at all. They make more money when the economy is bad than they do when the economy is good. Is that nuts? I've been watching a few things where people are talking about getting taxed. So everything, there's like 30 things in their list that you get taxed on. So taxing should pay for everything, but it doesn't. You've got to pay for things, and then once you've bought them, you can be taxed on those. after you bought it with money that's already passed through a tax. And we haven't complained. I don't think a lot of people see what it all means for us to live in this situation. And also, big businesses lobby the government. Granted, the system allows them to do it. They're not doing anything. They're not doing no specific harm, right? They lobby the government, they get contracts, and at the end of that process and who got the thing through from the government side, they get nice roles. Sometimes they get roles on the board or high-level roles within those organisations that they helped or assisted, signed the paperwork or what have you for some contract. And that's got to be a conflict of interest. There should be some rules against that, I would hope, because it's not like regular business. Like regular business, you might see that. And is that a conflict? Well, not if you resigned and there was, I don't know, a gap, and then you became employed at the other place, but it was all organised prior to you leaving in the first place. As long as you didn't have a non-compete. Or maybe there wasn't a competing, maybe you're changing industries entirely. Well, that's fine, that'll work. There's no specific rules, and you should be, as an individual, allowed to do or make those decisions for yourself. I would just hope that there was no foul play. No foul play on your part or the business's part that led to you getting those roles. And those posts, you know, it's funny when Australia has a political post overseas for a member of parliament that they can kind of retire to after their role is done, and they might be there for life in some posting somewhere. I think that's pretty funny. Sometimes they put them out to pasture in some countries in a really cushy role. They're not being punished so much, but they're put out to pasture like an old racehorse. They can just see the clock out there in some role as some embassy person, some diplomat doing some kind. It's not like the Russian front. I do watch Hogan's Heroes. It's been a fun show to make light of a terrible war, and to make us not hate Germans, because you made, you know, Schultz lovable and what's his name? Anyway, I can't. Hogan. What's his? Hogan. You know, the head of Colonel Klink. So it's to make those guys lovable and to be loved by the people that we liked on the show. I think that's, you know, maybe abused, but you know, they weren't awful, and we saw a human side to them, and I think that helped the world get through a bad situation at the end of World War II. If we were to go into a new war, just if, and thinking about what the possibilities are of the opponents in the war, if that makes sense. Can you imagine how many of those people live in your current country? I know this, anyone in the world can listen to this, so just think about how that might play out. I know during World War II there were internment camps for Japanese, and you could the government, they asked themselves the question, can we trust them? And of course the answer came back as being no, and so we have to remove them from society, put them in camps for the duration of the war. And they lived through that, and all of their goods are taken away, all of their possessions are taken away, their houses are taken away, and they're resold. You know, they're back to the bank and it's resold. It's all wiped. Their existence is wiped, their money is wiped, their families can be separated from each other. So if we were to go into another war today, and you think about who the opposition might be, how much of a population do you think it would be, just in your own mind, that would be required to go into these camps? We'd have to build them again today. I don't think we'd just voluntarily send them all back to their country. I just don't think we wouldn't do that, I don't think. I think we'd just go down this, well, we've got to build camps and let's just do that and push them into there and take all their possessions and woohoo, right? I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. I'm just saying governments think in simple terms during wartime, and it's always the advice of the generals that are controlling what the government does. They're the loudest voice. And if you're, I suppose, it's not a court, there isn't a reasonable doubt. I think it's any doubt, not even reasonable, that would control the outcome. And so if the general said, look, we're at war with whoever it is, I don't care. If there's any of those in our population, we need to put them in camps. And then suddenly someone with the census is going, well, that's like 8 million. What are we going to do with that? And suddenly, the countryside they're building these camps to house people, and you've got to feed them. You can't not feed them. That would be atrocious. I don't think you can just eject them from your country either. I don't think that's a thing, right? So you'd have to understand how bad it would be. And that's why I keep thinking to myself, the situation we're in right now, Iran, Israel, you got Ukraine, Russia. There's the possibility of China and Taiwan. I'm not saying these are all the same situations, because they're not. Iran isn't trying to take Israel's land. I know there's Gaza and Israel. But Russia's trying to, I think, Meki and I talked about this on the show a long time ago, just trying to take some land enough to get to the warm water port, so it can have a forever port. Otherwise, its northern ports are clogged with ice. They can't launch. So that they could have negotiated or said, hey, can we have some of that? Look, we'll build the road there. Can we lease some of these, or you just build your own? No, I don't think that ever happened. It never happened. So, losing hundreds of thousands of people in a war because you believe that the government is right, it's only a conversational series of arguments put forward that would make the people believe that that was the right thing to do. And it's for anything. Because I can ask you a question, and I'll leave you with this one. Is war good? And you go, no. Okay, but if war was freeing people from oppressive regime, and then I ask you, is war good? You would say yes. So that's what I'll leave you with. And I'm not an advocate for war. I think war is bad. I think people dying is bad. I don't care who you are. Even if you're a bad person, I don't think you deserve to die. You deserve to think about it a lot. But anyway, I'm sure if there was going to be music, I'm sure it would have started. And there it is right now. This has been Dave. Meki's absent. We're going to see you on Thursday, same time, 7 a.m. And then again, Sunday, 2 to 4 a.m. Eastern. But in the meantime, be safe.